welcome to Convos with Caleb. My name is Caleb. I am a pianist by trade. Go check out the other videos on the channel after you get done watching this one. This series for me is just kind of like a video journal and talking about topics that I find interesting and that I would think other people would find interesting. Just to, for myself, of course, to look back on eventually. And then, like I said, just to share with others, picking interesting topics. And that topic today, one near and dear to my heart and my lifestyle, my values, and everything about me, is my walk with Christianity and how I became a Christian and my story with that. What my life was like growing up in a religious perspective. Just getting into all those little things here. So I guess we could just start from the very beginning. I grew up in the church. My mother, rest in peace to my mother, and my grandparents and everybody I ever lived with when I was, an adolescent. I was growing up 0 to 18 basically. I was kind of pushed towards the church when I was a little kid and had no choice. Of course, I was at the kids' church. I remember my church was West A Street, Westland. Shout out West A Street, Westland. Still one of the greatest churches of all time. Been around for 100 years. And I would go there from, like I said, birth up until basically in my entire time living in the city where that is located. And it was an amazing experience. I met so many amazing people who are still super special to my life to this day. So many friends, so many people I consider family. My great grandma who passed not long ago at the age of 99, she was in that church since she was a kid. My great grandpa was an usher at that church. There's just so much history and significance in that church in my life. With that being said, it was just church on Sundays. It wasn't what I would consider a walk with Christ or a relationship with God at all. It was just kind of on the schedule Sunday. Not anything, of course, that I hated to go to or I was being dragged to. I mean, when I was getting towards youth group age and high school age, I would still go willingly. Like, it wasn't anything that I really dreaded to do. But, like I said, there's a difference between just going to church, even on a regular basis, even on every Sunday, every Wednesday night youth group. There's a difference between going to church and being a part of the system of church. And I'm not saying that in a derogatory term. There's good systems, bad systems. Church is not one that I believe to be a bad one for the most part. But that being said, being a church member and having a relationship with Christ is completely two different things. And I would say, I was really just a church member and, going through the motions and, trying to live my best virtuous life. I was, being nice to everybody that I was, having my vices just like everybody else, but I was trying to do the right things. And, I kind of, used Christ as a model, even though I didn't really have that relationship. And it was that way up until the age of 22, 23. I was dating a girl and, she was really big into church, and I was somewhat cooled down from church at this point. I had just, finished up college. I didn't get my degree. Different story for a different day. I was just getting out of college, and I was working, a couple jobs in church. It wasn't that I didn't want to go or, I was against it or anything. It was just that I worked on Sundays, and so I wasn't able to go. This girl I was dating introduced me to a church that had Saturday evening service, and so I liked the girl, and I don't mind church, and Saturday night was in my availability. I wasn't working at that time on Saturday nights, and so started going on Saturday nights. There's this church called The Crossing. Shout out Pastor Kylie and everybody from The Crossing. You guys are an amazing group of people. I started going to The Crossing, 50% to get back into church, 50% to impress my girl at the time. I know that sounds horrible, but I like to keep it 100, and tell the truth at all times when I, am obliged to. But yeah, I went to The Crossing, and, slowly that became 50% church girl, 60% church, 40% girl, 70% church, 30% girl. Like, I just got more and more involved with the church and just fell in love with the environment. It was just so different from all the other churches I had been to. West A Street, Westland was a great church, like I had mentioned previous. But the average age of the congregation was like 95 years old, and there wasn't really too many young people in the church. And then I went to a couple of different churches that were okay. Nothing really stuck out or was truly special, but The Crossing was the first place where I felt that I could really truly call as an adult a home church for me. and the environment was just incredible. It's just one of those things you have to experience. New Haven, Indiana, the crossing, 909 East Main Street, I believe is the address. You come from all over and check that place out. The worship is incredible. Kylie is incredible, the pastor, and just the environment you're sitting, and what feels like you're in a living room. Everybody has, their coffee. They have mugs all across the world. People go get their mugs, fill up their coffee, sit down and start taking notes and just, chasing after the presence of God. And it was so powerful. And I just felt God in that space every single weekend. And I wish I could say, I went to the church and, that was it. And my whole life was changed and I was just on this path of greatness. But, of course, that's, not how it went. But that was the beginning of my relationship with God and getting more into reading the Bible. It was during that time that I took a 52-week plan to read the entire Bible, which I completed. So I finished reading the Bible. I was going to church again, like I said, plugged back in. I had to cool it down for a little bit. Now I was back. And I would say I stayed in that phase, which was, a pretty good phase, religiously speaking. Doing, like I said, a lot of the right things, or trying to do a lot of the right things, still with my vices, of course, just like everybody else. I would say I stayed in that phase until about a year ago when I turned 25. When I turned 25, I got plugged into a new church. I was in a new state, in a new city. This new church, Creative Church, shout out Pastor Eric. I got plugged in with them in a crazy way. A different story for a different day. But I just got to go in there, and the surface there was more biblical teaching that I hadn't heard before. There was a lot of that going on at the crossing as well, but a lot of surface level compared to, getting with Eric in Creative Church. It was diving into the Word of God, and, that combined with me starting to read the historical documents for myself, and I guess this is getting into my why am I a Christian. I believe there to be a creator of the universe. I just don't think what we have all around us is just too much design in my perspective. It's just too much design for it to just be all randomness. That would be, I wouldn't say my biggest reason, but it's up there. Just the fact that I believe that there's a creator of the universe. The second thing is, why do you wake up in the morning? There's purpose. You want to have a career, and you want to have, this car or this house, and you want to marry this person, and you want to do these big things with life. But that's all really surface level type stuff, and I want it for myself. I want those things. I want, the beautiful wife and the beautiful career, living on a beach. Like, I have those goals. I'm a very goal oriented person. But that's still all surface level stuff. There's something deeper to why you're waking up in the morning and living in this existence. Because before there were cars and careers and material things, people were still waking up, and there's still, there's a reason behind that. I'm not sure, I don't have an explanation as to, what that full reason is, but I know God is behind it. And I just believe that it's good to believe in something. I believe believing in nothing is believing in something and putting your faith in nothing. I don't even think I can say that again because it's kind of crazy. But, rewind it 10 seconds and listen to it again. Believing in nothing is believing in something, and it's putting your faith in nothing. And choosing to believe in God and Jesus Christ is putting my belief in something and putting my faith in something that is not nothing. And it's something that the third branch of why I'm a Christian, the third reasoning behind it is, what does the historical documentation and evidence point to? Is there anything, besides my faith, besides my belief, which is enough, I will say, to be a Christian, the faith and belief side of it and the hope that brings. But third, you get that faith and belief, and then you go research and say to yourself and ask yourself, am I like okay to believe this? Why am I to believe this? Is there anything behind this to back this up? And I've gotten to that really deep in the past, year, maybe even 6 months. It's been pretty recent. I'm just reading books, Historical Jesus. William Lane Craig was another author who talks a lot about it. Just the historical aspect of Christianity and Jesus. And when you really put the evidence up, it's truly incredible. It is truly incredible. In the history of the world, Christianity is really, really new. I don't know if you really can wrap your head around that. It's only a couple thousand years old compared to the millions and millions of years that the earth is old, in my belief. So Christianity is really, really new. And because it's so new, we've been blessed and fortunate to have the historical documents that are at the birth of Christianity from the first century. And an amazing stat about that, I don't know the exact number, I think it's 5,200 original copies of the Bible manuscripts, the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. 5,200 copies of, the Gospels plus all the New Testament and the Bible itself. 5,200 copies remain from, historical perspective, historical documentation, which is far, far beyond any other Roman Empire type documents, anything else from the antiquity and from that historical era. The Bible is far in between ahead when it comes to the documentation and copies of that document. 5,200 copies, I believe it is, still exists from that ancient period, which is incredible. We have documentation all the way back from the first century. I think John was the first book to be found from like 96 to 98 AD, which is 40 to 50, I think, years after Christ was crucified. Christ being crucified is not just in the Bible, which, if you really break down the Bible into what it is, a collection of letters and a collection of gospels and stories and writings from all these different authors who in no way cross paths. This is the first century, so Matthew's not looking up Mark on Wikipedia and typing his own thing. And there's discrepancies in the Bible because of this reason, which is, when you really look at the discrepancies, it's incredible how few there are with how related the stories are, and how these, like I said, these books come from different authors who had no inspiration from each other. And the Bible itself, I think, was put together in the 300s AD, just a collection of all these things. I know we today look at the Bible as just this one really, really big book of, somebody just wrote down the whole Bible, but it's not like that. There's just a lot of books. There's a lot of different authors that come together for this. Back to what I was saying though, just looking at the historical documentation that's been saved from these time periods. Like I said, it wasn't that long ago, so we still have those antique and ancient documents. I don't think antique was the right word right there, but it's incredible. I encourage you to look it up yourself. The historical documentation, the historical Jesus is really kind of the source material behind all the other different documents and books and lectures that I've seen. The historical Jesus comes from a professor from the University of North Carolina. I forget his name. So just to recap a little bit, I could go on this video for 45 minutes, but to recap, I believe there to be a creator of the universe. I just don't think that this place is random. This place being the earth, there's just so much I believe to be designed, so much that's perfect about it. I just believe there to be a creator of the universe. Number two, the faith and belief side of it. I believe every single person puts their faith and belief into something. And if you're not putting your faith in nothing, you're putting your faith in something. I keep trying to say that again, but it's really hard to say. So I choose to believe in God and Jesus Christ. And part of the reason I choose to believe in God and Jesus Christ is the historical documentation that exists from the first century to back up why I do and why Christianity is the largest religion in the world, I believe. At least in the United States. I know that for a fact. Those sum it up for me. Like I said, I could go for 55 to an hour easy off the dome with this topic because it's something that's vital to my life and something that's so important to me, and I love to talk about it. So give me a message or on social media, shoot a comment on this video, give me a thumbs up. Um, I've enjoyed talking with you, and I look forward to getting to this topic deeper in a future conversation.